coming in from the world. Athena just joined me as well. She says hi as well. So she just joined me on the bed. So she knows I'm starting a live stream, and so she wants to join in, right? She's wagging her tail too. She's excited, but and then of course trying to get my attention. But today, what I want to talk about is let me grab my coffee first. But what I want to talk about is why philosophy is better than self help or beats self help. And I know, this is actually, I know the title is of this live stream is why philosophy beats self help, but I actually want to talk more even about the role of both. We kind of over rely on self help, and nowadays especially, I feel like because people think philosophy is this academic elite kind of thing. Welcome Q. Hello, welcome to the live. I feel like because people think that philosophy is this kind of academic thing that you have to have some formal education. It helps to have a formal education, but in anything. But because people have that idea, I think a lot of people stay away from philosophy because they think, oh, well, what is even philosophy, first of all, right? Is that like spirituality or something, or what is that? Well, we'll discuss a little bit. It's not that, but you can have spirituality and uh, and philosophy together. It's possible, but it's not inherently that. But basically, when it comes to self help, think about. Let's just start here. Think about the self help books that you've read. I've read a lot of them. Off the top of my head, some of the things that I can think of that are self help, self improvement, right, personal growth. I would categorize those as, for instance, maybe business books. I would categorize them as marketing books, because I am basically a lifelong entrepreneur. I've been, well, since my academic days, since, like, I guess the cusp of my transition from academia. What is this? More than 10 years ago, like 11 years ago, from academia to entrepreneurship. Ever since then, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always run some sort of business. I've always, and my motivation has been, I never want a boss. Never want a boss. I never want somebody telling me what to do. Q, I studied in my undergrad, I studied history and philosophy. And then in my grad school, I studied neurobiology and behavior. And basically, I'm a published author, academically published author in a field called value theory. So altogether, value theory kind of encompasses neuroscience. It's an intersection between neuroscience, behavioral science and cognitive science, um, and philosophy, right? And so asking questions of value, asking questions of what is value, what do people value, and how does that drive their behavior? And so that's my academic background, and thus my interest in philosophy, and how I learned about philosophy. But anyway, so that's why when I look at self help is just basically value theory given to somebody, right, who is looking for self improvement. And self improvement is a value, right, that we pursue to have a better life, right, presumably, to be more impactful. We have some sort of end goal. We have some sort of telos, right, end goal, purpose in that, as Aristotle would say. So, think about the self-help books that you've read. I've mostly read things in business and marketing, and also, things that are on mindset, you know, 7 habits of highly effective people, 5 levels of leadership by, Captivate. I'm thinking about different books that I've read, on networking and just so many things, so many things that are self-help. So, what really is the danger then in terms of um, self-help versus philosophy? Well, the first thing I want to discuss here is ideology versus analysis. So ideology versus analysis. Self-help can potentially kind of unknowingly veer you into the the world of ideology. Ideology meaning here's an idea, right? This is what self-help makes you do. Hey, here's an idea. Here's some ideas. Follow these, do these, end of story. Right? That's how self-help works. Right? Somebody's writing in in a business book or in in something about communication, and they'll say, "Hey, here's what works. Do this, 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 and this, and this." And what is that? To me, that's more like ideology. It's like dogma, right? Dogma meaning just a, rigid belief that you can never question. And authors in self-help present the ideas as essentially unquestionable, as true, with usually no sort of proof, no evidence. Chester Benningfield, yeah, maybe. What has he written? Because I'm worse with authors and I'm better with titles. So I like, hey, Boogerman. Okay, great. Well, welcome. I like your username actually. Very very cute. So, but let me know the title that you're thinking of because I probably know the title. I probably just don't know the author. Abby, right? Welcome, welcome. Hi to you. So that's the problem. That's part of the problem I see with self-help is it veers you into ideology. They're giving you some principles. They're giving you some success principles. They're giving you something to do, take action on, and basically do it, take action, and end of story. Don't question it, right? But philosophy is so different. Philosophy actually seeks the same end. Chester Bennington. I'll have to look into the name because I am not. Again, I'm not as good with authors as I am with the titles. If I know the title, I may be able to see if I've read it, any of his work. But but yeah, philosophy, all in all, takes a different approach. And I'm not saying there aren't self-help books out there and personal growth books that don't take this approach, all right? It's just in general they do. Philosophy takes a different approach. Philosophy says, okay, well, here's a theory. Um, Thank you, Abby. I appreciate it. I look just like him. Okay. Hey, you know what? I know my people are from what? I'm supposedly like Russian, German, and Italian, so like ancestry. So although recently my sister did a 23andMe thing, so it's not Russian. It's like technically like Austrian, although they've changed borders so many times throughout history. So sometimes it's Russian, sometimes it's whatever. But yes, and love from the U.S. as well. Welcome to come here anytime, and I'd love to visit India sometime. Um, so, so yeah, philosophy invites you in to critique the point of view. That's the nature of philosophy. It offers an idea, and it says, okay, well, debate this, right? Give me some reason this is not true. And that's actually really helpful because I'll give you some concrete examples. I will give you some concrete examples in which self-help really pushes you down a path of going wrong a lot of the time. Here's a very concrete example. Something called survivorship bias. So when you're looking at success, the concept of success, right? People achieving success. And, let's say it's success in business. It could be success in whatever field you want. Maybe it's your career, specific career, or you want to get into an Ivy League school, or whatever the idea of success is. You want to become, you want to have a huge record label, something like that. You know, if you look at the sample of people, and let's just talk statistically here. If you look at the sample of people who succeeded, it's very small, right? It's very hard it's not that we can't, but it's very hard to draw conclusions of what we should do, statistically speaking, now, not based on anecdote, not based on some testimonials. Oh, this is what I did to become successful, and this is what you just have to follow what I did, and you'll be successful. No, 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 no. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like real facts and figures here, statistics, right? If you look at samples of people who are successful, they're small samples inherently, and so it is very hard to draw good conclusions from you know from those data, even if on just on the face of it it looks like, oh, they all have this certain thing in common. Well, that's not how statistical reasoning works, right? Hey, beautiful morning to you, Nikhil, too. Welcome to the live stream. Yeah, that's not how statistical reasoning works. See, that's the thing. Even if we notice something in common with all these people who've been successful. Let's say, for instance, the self-help tip, very cliche self-help tip. Wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, right? You should wake up early every morning and do whatever routine. And okay, maybe there are a significant number of people in that sample that you're looking at who do that success routine. So you're going to make the inference maybe that, oh, I should do that success routine. Here's the problem with that. That's actually not, you would have to run an actual test, a statistical test, to see if that is statistically significant. If that actually, if that's actually, not just random chance. It could be random chance, right? We don't know. And so, but because so many of us are not trained in, again, philosophy, you might say, what does statistics have to do with philosophy? Statistics has a lot to do with philosophy. Statistics is a form of philosophical reasoning. It's a form of critical thinking. So if we don't, if we don't actually, I actually see statistics as a form of philosophy. I think so, right? I really think so, because it's based on probability theory, and the deeper the rabbit hole you go down probability theory, the more philosophical you realize it is, quite honestly. But anyway, open to analysis. But anyway, so my point here is, it's better in many cases. Survivorship bias is that we look at the traits of the successful people, let's say, in that category, and we say, oh, if we just do what they did, or we just do what they do, I'll also be successful. I'll also get the same result. It's just statistically, it's logically invalid, right? It's statistically and inductively or empirically invalid, right? Any way you look at it, that reasoning is just bad reasoning. But what do most people do that read self-help books? They think, oh, let me do those things and I'll be successful too. All right? Now, I don't want to be all doom and gloom with you, because there's a solution and everything. So like, oh, well, then what do I do if I want to be successful? Like, who do I follow? What do I do, right? Like, if we don't study in college, we would be successful. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. There are many people who don't study very hard in college and are successful, right? As a counterexample, do most people who succeed, study hard in college? Yes, probably. Is something like that causative? Does it cause them to be successful? Probably. I mean, just in this case, probably, right? Probably it has a large component to do with success. But a lot of time, the point is, we'd have to test it, though. And I think it definitely has been tested, right? That study habits lead to success in a causally direct manner, right? And so, okay, so Abby, you say, sir, I have some personal problems. Yes, so hold on, I'll get to your questions in a moment. Let me just finish this thought. So, yes, but the point that I'm making is that when we talk about like success habits, and you look at the successful people and you say, oh, they wake up at 5 a.m. every day. This one meditates for 5 hours. This person, drinks mushroom coffee, right? It's like different things that we just kind of observe as what we think are commonalities, and we just automatically associate them as like causative factors in their success. But that's invalid. So the point is that, and what should we do instead? Let me just finish up this point and I'll get to your questions. What should we do instead? What we should do instead is actually look at the people who failed. So it's a much bigger sample, the people who failed. The people who really tried to do that thing that you're trying to do and they didn't succeed. That's a bigger sample. Analyze the commonalities between among all of those people. Try to see patterns among all of those people. Obviously, the most ideal thing would be to get a data set of those people and actually see what the statistical trends are. But if you can't do that, try to look at the commonalities of those who didn't succeed. Try to maybe avoid those behaviors or do something different than from those behaviors instead, right? Don't rely on your survivorship bias. It's a fallacy once again, it's a fallacy to say this person did this and this and this, or these people did this and this and this to succeed, and became successful. Therefore, if I do the same, I'll become successful. No, that is incorrect. So, yeah, Q, and I'll answer your other guys. Carl, thanks for your question. Pratyush, well, thank you for your question. Abi, thank you for your question. I'm going to answer them in a moment. Q, where do I get the data sets? History books, maybe? It's a little bit difficult, right? I mean, if you're looking for data sets of like people who didn't succeed in business, for instance, those are maybe easier to do. I'm just talking about business as an example. Like you could pick any field, but like a specific business maybe. There are data sets that exist for, let's say, for those things, but as a more crude form, it's like not as like a scientific way of doing it, but yeah, meet more people, right? Meet more people who didn't succeed in what you're trying to succeed at, right? Meet more people who didn't succeed. What were the pitfalls? What were the obstacles they came across? What did they have to overcome that they didn't quite overcome? What was the reason, right? Look at all those things. So I'm going to answer Pratyush. Did I write a book? Yes, I've written a book. It's called Rationality, Virtue, and Liberation, a post-dialectical theory of value. So it is actually a full 300-something page theory of value, academically published with Springer Academic Publishers. But I'm not here promoting my book, so don't worry. I get like a 6% royalty minus taxes, so like whatever. I actually didn't originally write it like more than 11 years ago. I didn't write that just for like for money. That wasn't the purpose. I felt like, okay, I have a really new idea here, and I need a new research here, and I need to write this down. So, but Abi, let me answer your question. You have some personal problems and want to excel in life, and so following you, but want to talk to you in detail. I'm a student and do not have any money. Please help me. You can feel free to reach out to me by email, Abi. Yeah, feel free. Like I'll be happy to answer some of your questions. Yeah, you guys can reach out to me by email. I will always answer people's emails, right? So don't worry. Like if you want to chat with me, I'm open. Like that's part of why I created this community, and like I'm building this community. I want to build a community of like-minded people, and I'm happy to help. So Carl, create your own success. The success of others should encourage you to do this, and it does. It triggers fresh ideas from herself out there from others. Yeah. So okay, you hit on a key point here. It's not, the point is that, my point is not that you shouldn't look at successful people, and we shouldn't look at successful people and think, oh, I disdain them, right? Oh, they're horrible, right? No, we should learn from successful people as well. We should get their perspectives. But we should also learn from what didn't work, right? We should also learn, because that's a much larger data set, right? We can be inspired by the success of others. We can have a mentor who is, you know, having success in something. If anything, what's the most reliable maybe person to listen to who is successful at something is probably somebody who's currently building that thing and having success with it, not somebody who's already maybe at the top of the field. Because here's another thing that happens when you're at the top of your field. We are narrative driven beings, right? This is just a fact of cognitive science. We're narrative driven beings. What that means is we create stories. So when we look back on things that we did, we have distortion, we have what's called memory distortion. We remember things actually not as they are. In fact, every time we call up a memory, we're adding new details to it, new flourishes to it. We're actually not remembering an original memory when we're remembering something. It's not the original memory we're remembering. It's actually the memory as we remembered it the last time we recalled it, if that makes sense. So basically, we're distorting the memory every time we remember it, right? Every time we recall it. And so what happens is if you're at the top, successful person's at the top, they're no longer doing what they did to get to that point. They're just at the top now. It's actually less reliable to listen to them because they have created a story based on memory distortions. Now, it's not to say you should totally mistrust them. It's just taking things with a grain of salt. And I know that's for myself as well. When I think back to, to try to avoid memory distortion, what I've done is like I journal on a regular basis. So as I'm experiencing something, I can write down what the thoughts are as I have them, so that it's actually kind of impossible for me to completely distort the memory, right? Because I have a record of it as I go, and I can always look back. So it's a little more reliable to understand what to do. And I know there's some hissing in the background here that will go away shortly. That's my heater. So here's another thing about self-help versus philosophy, and why philosophy is not. I'm gonna put this down a little bit because I think I'm hurting my back here, right? So, and my dog is no longer trying to play with me while I'm on the live stream. Usually that's what happens. She tries to paw at the phone. Listen, I don't know if you guys have any pets, but whenever I pick up the phone, or not whenever, but many times when I pick up the phone, my dog just wants to like swipe at the phone. Literally, she swipes at the phone. She tries to get the phone away because she wants me to like play with her toys. Right? Here's a toy. Here's a toy. She wants me to play with those. So anyway, so it's just. But she's great. She's a great dog. Yeah, she wants the attention, right? Absolutely, right? She wants the stimulation. She wants the love, right? That's exactly true. So, yeah. Another way that self-help kind of goes wrong is remember how I told you before, in general, self-help books, they'll say, this is what to do, right? Do this, follow this step, follow this step, follow this step, use this technique, use this hack, all of that. But what happens is that those are rules. Those are rules that are set up. I will tell you, more classical, like ancient thinking about self-help, ancient philosophy. Yeah, I know that's very true. That's very true, Nikhil. Yes, she does, because she knows that phone is an unnatural thing, right? It's like it's not something you should have in your hand, right? She knows that already. Self-help tip from my dog, but but anyway, so. Classical thinking didn't focus as much on rules, by the way. Classical thinking, what do I mean by classical thinking? The work of Plato, the work of Socrates, the work of Aristotle. Even if you go over, let's look at the East. You look at the work of, the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu, and you talk about Jai, right? For instance, Vasubandhu. Vasubandhu was a Buddhist, but still Vasubandhu, for instance, was an Indian philosopher. But if you think about all of these traditions, I could talk about Islamic philosophers And even where do you? There are many. I'm missing out right now, but there are many different philosophers. Basically, hey Rajwardhan, welcome. Hello from the U.S. Welcome anytime to come to the U.S. Um, basically, so my dog like destroyed my points here. I was actually making some. There we go. She just now I got them back. Control Z. Thank goodness for Control Z, guys. Anyway, for undo. She has her paws right near the. This is mounted on my laptop right now, and she has her paws near the keys. And again, she's trying to. Anyway, very disruptive, but so classical philosophers, as I was saying, east west doesn't matter. They focused more on virtues than rules. Yes, there were rules, of course. In Confucianism, for instance, there were rules, and but much more focused. Even if you look at something like Confucianism or Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, for example, Epicureanism. You look at Stoicism. They're much more focused on this idea of virtues or character. We're less focused on follow this rule, always follow this rule, as self-help will tell you, and they're more focused on, okay, be a courageous person, right? If you're a courageous person, you will, we can't make a rule for every situation, right? What about war? What about just a simple conversation you're having and you're afraid to bring up a certain topic with someone? What if it's your procrastination, right? You can't make a rule for every single situation. It's very difficult. But if you apply the idea of virtue to just meaning what kind of person do you want to be, right? What kind of character do you want to have? Then you can carry that over to every single situation. It's just like in, and I'm not a Christian, but just like in Christianity, there's this saying, what would Jesus do, right? That's actually more of like a character appeal as well. So, for instance, you think, you don't have some rule that you use for every situation. You just think, okay, well, what would he do in this situation? I want to be like him. I'm like him, right? That's my character. What would he do? Right? We can modify the behavior, right, according to the situation. It's much more flexible, and it's actually easier to implement. If you always just go back to, okay, well, this is a new situation for me. I've never encountered this or that situation, but I am a person of, let's say, I'm a person of integrity, virtue of integrity, let's say. It's actually coffee. Yeah, I keep on forgetting to drink my coffee as I'm talking. I'm just talking, and I don't drink my coffee. So I'm going to drink my coffee. Thank you for reminding me. But yeah. So yeah, we can't apply that. So it's easier to basically say, okay, I'm a person of integrity, or I'm a courageous person, or just even, for instance, very simple as applied to self-help. And I'll answer your questions in a moment. So let's apply it to self-help. If you identify yourself as a healthy person, right? I'm a healthy person. And that's kind of what I did, like, I would say 2 years ago now. Really identified myself as a healthy person. It's easier to then say, well, what would a healthy person do? Would they skip the gym this morning? Would a healthy person skip the gym this morning? Would a healthy person choose to get processed foods? Would a healthy person choose to drink too much alcohol, right? And so you think about these things, and it's easier than just applying rules. You think, well, I'm a healthy person, and this is what a healthy person would do. And so virtues end up being so much more flexible and actually easier to implement than many other kinds of ideas. So let's see, Rajwardhan, you said, sir, I want to talk to you about my problems and want a permanent solution, but as a student, I don't have any money, but have the will and desire to succeed. Can you help me for free? Please tell. So I'm happy to, once again, guys, I'm always happy to, chat with you by email. if you have questions and things like that, I'm always happy to receive your emails, and I'll respond to you, right? And I'll help you as well as I can. Of course, I do have, I do have a paid membership program where obviously you'll get more individual attention from me and all of that, and you can check that out in the about section of my bio, and I have a course as well, but so you get the most personalized attention that way. But it doesn't mean I won't, like, if you reach out to me, I won't talk to you, help you the best that I can, right? I just won't be able to like invest tons and tons of time, personally, just because I have to prioritize how I'm allocating my time. Hopefully that makes sense and is reasonable to you guys. But yeah, no, I will always try to be as helpful as I can. Um, totally. So reach out, because my main purpose here is, you know, my main purpose here is to be helpful. Um, Nikhil, yeah. So I'll be honest. I am very comfortable. Like I don't worry about money. I have gotten to that point in my life where I don't worry about money. I used to worry a lot about money. We used to worry a lot. I mean, if you've watched my videos, like I sometimes share the story where like I would walk into a grocery store with $21 USD here, and you can't make that stretch for a week. I tried to make that stretch for a week, but wealth is good. Wealth is a good thing, and it's a good thing to talk about because wealth is a very good thing. We shouldn't be anti-wealth. We should want to have wealth. But here's my thinking. We should want as many people as possible to have as much wealth as possible, right? That should be our goal, is like to help other people to also to become financially secure. Um, it's not about, and understand what wealth is for at the end of the day. Is wealth for, oh, look, I have this and that, and I have status, and I'm happy because I drive a luxury car, and I have first class on the airplane. No, no, no. So those things are nice, right? But that's not what it's for. That's not what wealth is for. Wealth is for, in my opinion, wealth is for being able to bless other people, right? And I say that in kind of a secular way, but like be able to be your best self and be comfortable, right? So to be comfortable without so you can free up your mind to really give back to other people, right? And that's my philosophy on wealth. But Funofessor, welcome. I think this is the first time you have been on this live stream. Welcome. So what do I do, or is it just what? Yeah, what do I do? Yeah, what do I do? I'm a peer-reviewed, internationally published value theorist, and also I've been an entrepreneur running different businesses, one or another businesses for the past 11 years. When I kind of transitioned from from academia, purely academia and theory, to entrepreneurship, so I have a lot of experience with both sides of the equation, theoretical and practical. But yeah, I appreciate that. But Funofessor, the thing is, yeah, that's what I think about wealth. That's what I think about wealth. It's not a virtue. A lot of people say, look at Ayn Rand, the work of Ayn Rand. I think Ayn Rand is like BS, quite honestly. Ayn Rand, if you know who I'm talking about, look it up. The Fountainhead Anthem. Selfishness as a virtue. We should be self-interested, but selfishness is not a virtue. I don't think so. I think being at all times thinking about how our actions impact our community, impact our world, that's actually very important. We see too many of us these days. Think about wealth once again. Well, you're wealthy. Let's say you're wealthy. You're doing well, but what about your neighbor? When was the last time you checked in? Like, who's struggling around you? How can you, maybe it's not just give it might be charity, right? But it might be charity in terms of time. It might be giving a tip or some inspiration. And that can help, those kinds of things can help people more than to help them get ahead in life and do better for themselves. So, working together in some way, right? So, this is kind of where we get to this idea of the self-help bubble as well. And I think this is another danger of self-help, which is when we're reading a lot of self-help, what happens when we read a lot of self-help is that we become very self-focused. Look, self-help, right? And how do I become more productive? How do I become wealthier? How do I become more attractive? How do I become a better communicator? And it's all good, because a lot of those things, like leadership skill has never been more important in our world today, right? Because we have so many people out there now who are not leaders, who think they're leaders and tell people they're leaders and they're not leaders, right? Um, and so we need those skills, and we need ourselves at all times to develop these skills. But the thing is that we can get wrapped up in this bubble of self-concern so much that, okay, we're becoming better, I'm becoming healthier, I'm becoming better, more focused and things like that, and better, more productive. But also, once again, just we have to not make sure that we don't get stuck in this bubble. um, yeah. So we don't have to. So we don't get stuck in this bubble, right? Arthur. Oh, I love when somebody challenges me. Thank you for challenging me, because that's what critical thinking is about. Love it. We have to and respectfully challenge each other, right? So the point of self-help is a quick fix, and philosophy isn't yet figured out. So it's still quicksand. Your statement is a bit badly defined. Yeah. So if we had a little bit more time, we might go into a little bit more of you know philosophy, what exactly philosophy is, and it's a 2 hour conversation. But how I would define philosophy is critical analysis. Critical conceptual analysis. So, and there are many kind of conceptions of philosophy, but it's critical conceptual analysis. So, it is a more foundational. It's a foundational conceptual analysis. So we take the foundations of concepts such as reality, right? Okay, space and time, or we take the foundations of mathematics and we say, okay, well, you go very meta. What does plus mean, right? 1 plus 1, right? How do I define that? Should I use some set theory or something to define? Well, that's how many people. Frege, I forget who it was, or I think it might have been AJ Ayer who proved 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? As an example, right? I know it sounds intuitive, but you have to prove 1 plus 1 equals 2. I think he defined it in terms of sets, something like that. So as an example, it's going to the foundations, the foundational concepts, analyzing those, deconstructing those. And there is a value to it. You might not have caught maybe the first part of this live stream, but there is a huge value to being able to do that, right? So yeah, philosophy isn't yet figured out. Well, I don't think philosophy will ever be figured out, so to speak, and I think that's actually a good thing, um, because there are always an infinite number. If you think about it, really, there are an infinite number of analyses we can do. So, I mean, how would we define if something is figured out or not? It's actually hard to understand what figured out means in the first place. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't see it as actually a bad thing that there will always be more analysis to do. That's what I take it to mean, that it will not be that's not figured out, right? There will always be more analysis to do. Absolutely. I think, in that case, science will never be figured out, right? If we take the same standard, because there will always be more to observe, there will always be more refinement we can do with different models. There will always be more to discover. And so science will never be figured out. Science is still not figured out, right? As well. So I don't see these as bad things. Q, what do you think about fiction? Because I see many titles similar to this one. How fiction beats self-help. Yeah, so fiction. Well, actually, you get to a good point. You get to a good point. So, um, self-help can actually take the form of, well, even philosophy, in some respect, um, can take the form of fiction. Fiction actually can give us a lot of impact. I would say self-help uh, can give us impact, meaning emotional impact. And I'll give you a good example. One of my favorite self-help books is The War of Art. I've mentioned this on maybe several places before. The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. I love that book. And it's not because it makes some specific argument. I think the argument can be summed up in a sentence. Actually, honestly, I could sum up the argument of the book in a sentence for you. But that sentence, that statement, that proposition will not have the same emotional and motivational impact as actually reading the book. And so, in some sense, self-help and fiction as well, if you read a story, we are narrative driven. We're narrative driven. I mean, we have actually survived in part by being able to create narratives. There are, tribal peoples throughout history who have, you talk about oral tradition, which is the carrying on of stories through generations. There's an evolutionary benefit to it, right? We remember stories for oftentimes for very, very practical purposes. Where to find water when there's a drought, where to find food when there is a famine, right? These kinds of things that narratives have been developed for. And so we're kind of wired for them to have motivational impact on us. And so they can definitely. You're right. Funofessor, can we have in one statement, while it obviously takes too long to understand? Well, hopefully I answered it well enough. Let me know if I didn't, right? Because this stuff is deep stuff. I mean, it's deep stuff. It takes some breaking down. Roger Ardan, sir, according to you, what is the best book to help one excel in life and to learn human psychology? See, you guys hit me with these questions, and they're very hard questions because after when you read lots of different books, it becomes increasingly difficult to answer that question. I will always give you the same answer, though, that people ask me this all the time. I'll always give the same answer. My answer is it depends on your current goals. So what's the best self-help book to excel in life? What's the best book to excel in life? I don't know what path you're on. Maybe you are pursuing an artistic path. Maybe you're pursuing something for business. Maybe maybe you're just trying to figure that out, right? So if you're trying to figure that out, there are books that can help you figure that out for sure. To learn human psychology, man, that's kind of, it is hard because to learn human psychology, um, yeah, yeah, it's that is a hard one. You know what? Feel free to follow up with me by email if you want. I have to put some thought into that because I can't really give you. I mean, I would tell you Albert Bandura's anything by Albert Bandura, like the book Social Cognitive Theory, which is actually just a compilation of research studies, but it kind of takes a little bit of background in psychology already to understand it, which is why I hesitate to recommend it as a starting point. Nikhil, but follow up with me. Feel free to follow up with me to ask further. I can think about that more for you. Nikhil, how can we become a philosopher not officially but personally? Be a critical thinking. Be a critical thinker. Use question what you hear. Look for the source. Look for the method that was used for the claim, and just start doing that. Just start questioning feelings you have that lead to ideas, right? The feelings that you have that lead to ideas. What are those ideas? Can you question them? Can you think, well, how would I know if I'm right or wrong about that? Right? That's how you get the process of philosophy started, quite honestly. Um, uh, yeah, Arthur, great point. Sunny. Okay, all right, I'm back. I think my phone needs to cool down, but I don't know why. So, welcome. Yeah, Nietzsche, Arthur, you said Nietzsche said we're all philosophers. Yeah, no one can. It's true. It's true. We all have that potential. You don't need credentials. You don't need special background. So, actually, part of my mission is to help all of us throughout our cultures, throughout the world's now got a common culture in a way, but throughout our culture to become critical thinkers. I think critical thinking can, and developing this as actually a cultural thing that we just do, that we practice, um, can help us drive down polarization. It can help us have more respectful conversations. It can drive down conflict, especially violent conflict. It can help us be more cooperative, right? And I don't just believe that. I think there's actually evidence for that. Arthur, you also say, but you can't write a book about nothing because everything deteriorates. So a true philosophy book doesn't exist. It's just out there. Well, my friend, that statement, I'm not sure how to take that statement, but that statement itself is pretty philosophical. um, yeah, maybe you can explain further, but I think I like what you say. Maybe Carl, my mission is to observe what goes on out there and look for ideas from the triggers that occur, then create something new from all of that on my own. I can benefit all out there. I like it. I like your thoughts as well, Carl. Yeah, definitely. So I think my phone is overheating, but I think it was because it was against my laptop. So I will actually let Athena say goodbye to you guys as well. So Athena can say goodbye to you guys as well. So Athena loves to live stream as well, but she loves to, as I said, she loves to disrupt my live streams the most. Um, so okay, Sunny. So feel free to reach out to me personally on my about section because I'm about to end the stream. You came in a little bit late, but reach out to me. Feel free. I'm happy to provide some insight. And guys, thank you. Stay tuned. I have a lot more for you. And feel free to check out some of the courses that I have. And if you want to work with me more personally as well, I can help you there. And just go to my about section and you'll find out more about that. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day or a great rest of your evening, and I will see you next Wednesday. Stay tuned.